The assassination of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk has many on both sides of the aisle calling for a cooling of the national temperature. Kirk's killing is the latest in a lengthy string of politically based attacks against members of both parties in recent years. Jay Jarvis joining us now in the studio. And Jade, you spoke with a local government and policy professor about this disturbing trend.
Yeah, that's right, Felicia. This issue is something that has affected lawmakers, activists, and their loved ones, regardless of party affiliation. And the solution is both simple and complicated. Charlie Kirk, Minnesota State Rep Melissa Hortman, Paul Pelosi, and President Donald Trump all have been the targets of a recent wave of political violence, but some experts say it's actually a continuation of a historical pattern.
I actually reject the notion that there's an uptick in political violence. I mean, we can go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, and unfortunately, political violence is a byproduct of every political system.
Philip Mancusi is an associate professor who teaches American government at Palm Beach State College.
The political culture in America has become more polarizing, but this is a trend that started since the 70s. But again, I'll say that people were equally passionate about their politics 250 years ago as we are today.
He cites the assassination of Julius Caesar, the duel between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, and the assassinations of American presidents and civil rights leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. as examples.
When people feel unhappy with what's happening or people feel underrepresented by something, rather than using the political means to effect change through a lawful process, getting involved politically, working to change a law that you don't like, people unfortunately default to what seems to be the easier option, and that's, lashing out at somebody.
And as leaders on both sides of the aisle call for peace, Mancusi says it's easier said than done.
It is an unfortunate byproduct of political systems, political violence. Now, political violence is not always just an assassination. Political violence comes in all different forms, but I don't think it's realistic to say that there's any way to completely rid any political system of political violence.
But despite that, he says he teaches his students that the world is big enough for everyone to coexist, even if their viewpoints differ.
We certainly hope that in our constitutional republic, people choose the lawful way to effect change, and not the unlawful way, and certainly not the violent way to effect change.
And we have learned that the White House has requested an additional $58 million in security funding for the executive and judicial branches following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In studio, Jay Jarvis, WPBF 25 News.